front on wood drive shaft installed. And there we go.
What's going on, guys? We're here at JK Land in Douglasville, Georgia, and today we're going to do an install video on a set of brand spanking new Tom Woods custom drive shafts for this JT Jeep Gladiator here behind me. And we're going to take you guys on this little journey and show you everything that you need to know so you can recreate this in your driveway, in your shop, wherever you want to. We try to be as detailed as possible, show you guys as much as we can of this install. Enjoy the ride. So, and the cool thing is, Tom Woods Driveshafts is actually delivering all JT drive shafts as a 120 wall. The reason for that is that the JT is still a relatively new vehicle, or a pretty new vehicle, and most people that upgrade their drive shafts at this point don't do it because of wear and tear, but because they want to upgrade. They use it for off-road, or like this one, it has a gigantic motor in it and you just need that extra strength. So both of these bad boys here are 120 wall, big and beefy, and yeah, let's get to it. Is there any kind of preparation people should consider before they start doing this?
I mean, there's definitely a couple tools you're gonna want to have. Let's see, I use a bearing puller basically to pull the flanges off, because when you do the Tom Woods, you have to replace flange on the front. Your front U-joint's gonna connect straight to your axle shaft, or not axle shaft, sorry, axle housing, pinion, and then the transfer case side, you have to change the flange out on the front, and on the rear, you have to change the axle and the transfer case side out. So, and you hit them with about 150 to 160 foot-pounds of torque just to make sure you don't crush that sleeve that you've already set in the axle. It's enough to get it where you need it to be and hold it, but not enough to, you know, give that little extra and change what you already got going on.
And should the vehicle be in park or in neutral, or is there anything that people should know?
So when you're doing it, depending on where you're doing it, on the ground or up in the air, when it's in the air, it's not really going to matter. You just want to be able to spin. For me, I like to spin the shaft while I'm doing it instead of trying to get to the top part to get bolts out and stuff, just to make it a little easier. So on the front, open diff, you know, you can just spin the shaft. So if you can't, say if you're on the ground, you can take the bolts out of the flange on the axle side, and then you're able to kind of lift up the drive shaft itself and spin it, because you can't physically move these tires on the ground if that's holding it in. And that helps you also get clearance to a lot of the bolts up in here. So the ones that are really tight, you can't really get a wrench or a ratchet or anything too. So if you unhook down here, then you're able to hold the drive shaft up a little bit and get in there with your tool a whole lot easier. All right, so for the tools you're gonna need to take the first drive shaft out of the front, you're gonna need a 15 on the axle side. I usually use an extension, and I put it on a good size impact, and just hammer them out. And if you're doing this on the ground or whatever, you're gonna want a bungee cord or something to hold the drive shaft up, because they do get a little heavy. All right, so once you get under here, you're gonna want to set a bungee cord up to hold the shaft until you get it off the transfer case. So I usually hang it on the motor mount. On a factory motor mount, there's two little holes on it that are pretty nice. This one, well, fortunately it has the Hellcat motor mounts in it, so I have to just hook it on the side. But you just want to hit it up on the bottom. You can get to the bolt, hold the drive shaft. These do have blue Loctite on them. We will put more. And then, like I said, when you're on a lift, or if you have the front tires off, you can just spin a drive shaft, pull all your bolts out. And yes, it's pretty new, so it has not rusted on yet. A lot of times, if you have a little hard time getting your drive shaft off because it's just stuck to there, you can just tap it a little bit and it'll release itself. I know we're pulling this out, but I'm gonna hold it up just while I get some of the flange, or the bolts out of the flange on the transfer case. It's a lot easier to find a spot to hang it when you got that factory one in there. All right, So these we will be reusing. All right, so to take the ones off the transfer case side, I've got a thick, what is it? It's a T50. So this one's actually it's kind of a thick sided one. And it should be able to come out with just a nice impact. So you can see I'm able to lift the drive shaft up, and back the bolts out, and since it's not hooked up to the front, you can spin it. And again, the newer they are, the easier they fall out. All right, so the next step is going to be to swap this flange on the transfer case and get the old one off. I think it's a 33 is what I usually use, with a whole bunch of extensions to get up past the cross members they have in the way. Here we go. Hold it. Pop that nut off, which we will be reusing this one, and then I will grab that puller I mentioned earlier. I'll just wrap around it and pull it right off. So when I set these up, I set the top teeth up and then just screw it in until it sits in the bolt. All right, so now you can see as I'm tightening it up, it's grabbing around the edges and it's set right in the center of the output shaft itself. It's not on there super tight, just enough because it's got those splines. And of course, we don't want it leaking. So you're able to just stick any kind of ratchet. You can do this by hand. You don't have to have any kind of power tool or anything. And you just see it slowly. So pull that flange off. So there's an O-ring in there. It's pretty thick. Pretty sure you gotta stick that on the inside. So the bolts coming off of the flange are a 13 or a ½ inch. I think it does fit in there. No, it doesn't look like it's gonna need to. So this one you can see, Tomwoods usually sets everything perfect so that you don't need, because a lot of times like this dust shield and stuff, they get their tolerances so nice you don't need to pull that dust shield off. In fact, if you do, we've done it, it makes a grinding noise, so don't do it. If you look, it's got the seal on there, and you'll see it slide right through the seal. And bam. All right, and here's also a very important step. Red Loctite. When you're messing with pinions or any kind of output shaft, you gotta have this on there. So again, like I said before, we're not gonna be crushing it in a sense. We're just gonna be putting it back to where it was. So we wanna make sure we get it as close and tight as possible. Hard it, and then we'll put it on the torque wrench. So to hold the flange in place, once we've got it in, we've got the nut on, we're going to use an adjustable wrench on the side. I found on the side of the new flange that they give with the Tomwoods, it's got so depending on how big of an adjustable wrench you got, you can see it's just clamped on the side. We're going to do about 160 foot-pounds.
$160 you said?
Yep. And there it goes. Felt the beat at 159.7. And that's just a general rule of thumb to get it back to where it's not too much to crush it, but it's enough to keep it from falling off. All right, so the double cardan goes up on the transfer case side. Again, this is going to be some more bolts that you're going to want to put a little bit of Loctite on.
Those bolts came with it, right?
They did come with it. Yeah, the flanges actually come mounted to the drive shaft, so you take them off to put the flange in, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of Loctite on each bolt right here. And finger tight them in, get everything good to go.
Just hand tight for now?
Yeah, just to get them started. And once I get those started, I just kind of put the other ones in so that it's all kind of hung up and you're not stressing yourself out too much holding drive shafts, because they're beefy, so they're heavy. And these bolts down here will go to about 40 foot-pounds, and then the ones up top will be about 20. And if you have the U-joint type straps, which we'll be putting on the rear, on the axle side, those also do about 20, but we'll go back over that again. Again, I'll snug them up with the impact and follow the torque wrench. When I put these in, I do one on one side and then go the opposite. Try not to go just around in a circle, just to make sure. So once it gets tied up in there, it seems like I've got enough room to get, which is a small ratchet. This is a electric ratchet. These are. All right, and we'll torque those and it's done with the front. All right, so I keep a little torque wrench set for about 30, which is right in the middle of the two at all times. Being that it seems it is a struggle, but if you get up to 20, 30, 40, you can hold on to this. If not, grab a buddy. Got a good old pal Marvin here helping me hold his drive shaft. There we go. All 4 bolts done. 3 and 4. Front Tom Wood drive shaft installed.
Boom.
And we'll cut that little piece off. All right, so we've moved to the back of the Gladiator, and we wanted to show you again. We mentioned it before, but it has a carrier bearing in the middle, so it's a dual drive shaft. It's got 2 slips with a carrier bearing, and you'll see on some lift kits we'll put some spacers in there just to set it down so we get a little bit of a straighter angle, which you can't get any straighter than what Tom Wood's about to do. So we're gonna delete the carrier bearing, change out your transfer case flange, your axle flange, and we're gonna run one piece drive shaft all the way down. So to start, again, we're gonna get that T50 and get these bolts off. So the rear drive shaft's a little bit tricky because it keeps it locked in at all times. So I'll show you guys a trick that you can do on the transfer case. So those of you that don't know that have a JT, in front of the gear shifter, there's a little plate that pulls up. If you've done this, you probably know what I'm talking about, but there's like a little pull slip you can pull from the upside, and what it does is it will pull on the gear shifter, allowing you to rotate the drive shaft so you can get to all the bolts. So as you can see right now, I'm spinning everything. If I let go, it's back locked up. So those of you that want to do this at home, all you have to do is just push up on it, and you can do this from the inside too. So you can get somebody to pull up on it. You just push it up, and that basically puts the transmission in neutral and allows you to spin the drive shaft. All right, so I've already got 4 on the bottom, loosen. I'm gonna screw one back in just a little bit, keep it finger tight. I'm gonna come up to the top and do the same thing. I'm gonna do the same thing, screw one back in a little bit. So we're gonna remove that carrier bearing and leave these hooked up. So here we go, pushing on it, turn it, so I can expose. Bolts I haven't done yet. See, and this is where they get a little stuck. On the JK, there was actually a little hole. If you got a JK and you're watching this, and you could pop some kind of punch in there and knock it out. We're not using these again. So, I'm just gonna tap it a little. Around, it pulls it out. And there we go, it's sitting in there so it doesn't fall. That's loosening up. Now we'll take out this carrier bearing. I do believe that's a 17 millimeter. All right, we're gonna lose some of these spacers. We won't need any more. So now I have the finger tight. I'm able to pull it off. And there we go. All right, so when Tom Wood ships you their drive shafts, you will get your flanges on the drive shafts themselves. So you're just going to want to take them off. Transfer case side on this is 16. Start off with a wrench. If you got a wobbly style socket, might speed things up a little bit. And there it is. So So again, we'll take the other flange off. We'll put some RTV on this one and get it torqued down. Take your impact, put a hand on it, and pop it off. Slide right off. Slide it back on. There we go. All right, same thing. Lock tight. You can be as generous as you want. I just kind of slide it in there and spin it. Get all the threads snug. Actually, transfer case, since it's locked back up, we'll be able to just put a torque wrench on it and just bring it right to spec without having to hold it. So again, we go to 160. Let's see, I've got it set it. Oh, better fix that. There we go. Get up there. And boom, there we go. We're already there. All right, so now let's do the same to the rear. Yeah, for those of you that haven't seen a JL factory flange on it, they have like a, I guess it's some kind of weight balancing collar on them. They're a little different in the case. There you go, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm just spinning it by hand. Same thing, got to get the flange off the drive shaft, which actually the rear is held on by a U-joint style strap kit. It's like a 12 or 13 millimeter, but this is your strongest style of strap kit if you're trying to decide on which one you want to go with.
What size is this?
All right, so that's a 14 millimeter. Finally came to the conclusion of. And that's what we're looking for. And once more, don't forget your Loctite. Sometimes you got to get creative on this part. So you'll want your wrench propped up on something. Actually, the easiest thing to do would probably be let the tires down, let it sit on the ground. All right, so if you're on a lift and you can't get it, you can let the vehicle down on the ground, put the pressure on the tires. All right, so now that we got pressure on it, we should be able to get the torque down.
And how much torque are you going to put on this here?
Again, this is 150 to 160. And I know you guys can't hear it, but it vibrates in my hands. It's one of those fancy ones, not a click. All right, so this thing's probably pretty heavy. So we're gonna Loctite the bolts. So I put a little Loctite on there, and then I just set them up on the axles, kind of like shelves right there. Big boy. Oh, golly.
Semi-truck
Crazy
shit.
is going in a Jeep. All right, so we got this fancy Tomwood drive shaft we're about to throw in. Because I have a spot to set it up on the exhaust, I'm gonna do that first and then put the straps in on the bottom. And then come back up to the top and set it in. So you're gonna just kind of get it loosely in its new home. So strap. Again, we did pre-Loctite this before I put these on. It's good. Alright, push in, spin it a little bit. Final, there's those rear ones. Alright, so these bolts on the flanges can be a little tough to get to, so I'm going to run them down as fast or as far as I can with a wrench. And And I'll take a little crow's foot stick on the side so I can get my torque wrench on the side. All right, so a lot of these tight places you can't get a wrench in, at least not with a torque wrench, because I can't get behind the nut. So you take what's called a crow's foot, and it's got a 3/8 hole on it, so I can stick it in there and actually get to the nut from here and crank on it, and there we go. I always give a little extra just to make sure it's in there. If you've never used a crow's foot, they're nice to have in the toolbox for those hard to reach spots. And there we go.
Sweet.
And now you got Tom Woods drive shafts. All right, so the final stage is cutting off the little protective cardboard, and bam, we got a Tom Woods drive shaft on the Gladiator. Single piece, no carrier, bearing, nice and torqued down. Who wants to see some power thrown to it?
Alright guys, that was it. How long did this take us now? Maybe an hour?
Yeah. I mean,
Including filming, rearranging, testing, etc. So this was quick and easy.
yeah, no struggles. I mean, bolts off, bolts on.
Pretty awesome. Thank you, Tom Woods, for this amazing product. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you follow and subscribe to JK Land on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. See you guys later.